Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure to be here.
This time, we're going to be taking a look at something I find really fascinating, the philosophy behind blockchain.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so not, just like the Bitcoin stuff and all the crypto stuff, although we'll touch on that, but kind of the bigger picture,
Right, right.
like how this technology could completely reshape like our ideas about trust,
Yeah,
power, and maybe even like society as a whole.
absolutely.
So the source material we're going to be using for this deep dive is an excerpt from this text called Blockchain, Trust, Decentralization, and the Philosophy of Transparency.
Catchy title.
It is, right? And it really does dive deep into some of these big questions. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to get into it.
me too, me too.
Okay, so I guess like one of the first things that jumps out from this excerpt is this idea of radical decentralization.
Right.
Blockchain basically says like see you later to the big, the big guys, the big institutions like banks, governments, the powers that be that traditionally call the shots.
Exactly.
It's like instead of having this centralized system, we've got this distributed network, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like flipping the whole power structure on its head.
Totally. And so like that raises this question, right? Is this the key to true individual freedom, or is it more like a recipe for chaos,
It's a really fascinating question.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of folks have been thinking about this for a long time, like how power dynamics work.
Yeah.
And I think somebody like Michael Foucault, a philosopher who really studied this stuff, he would have had a field day with this whole blockchain concept.
Oh, for sure.
Because traditionally power has been concentrated right in the hands of a few.
Right.
But blockchain comes along and completely flips the script.
It's like a wrench in the gears, right?
It is. It totally is.
So then what happens? Like, do we all just become these little islands of power, or do we have to like figure out new ways to like
Right.
collaborate and govern ourselves? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the thing about blockchain is that it lets individuals control their own data and assets directly,
Yeah.
without needing a middleman,
Mm-hmm.
like a bank or a government or whatever.
Right.
So it's kind of like a digital version of John Locke's idea of self-ownership.
Okay.
Like you're in charge.
I see.
But the thing is, even in this decentralized world, we're still playing by the rules, right?
Right.
That are written into the code.
Uh-huh.
So, that raises the question, is true autonomy even possible within a system that's still ultimately governed by algorithms?
It's like it's a bit of a paradox, right?
Totally, yeah.
It's like on the one hand, you've got this incredible potential for individuals to have more control over their lives.
Right.
But then on the other hand, it's like, well, who wrote the code, right?
Yeah.
What are their intentions?
Yeah, yeah. Who are the puppet masters behind the scenes?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, are we really free, or are we just playing a different game with different rules?
All right, right.
It's
Yeah.
a real head scratcher.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of trust, it's like in the age of algorithms, trust becomes less about, trusting other humans,
Right.
and more about trusting the code,
Right,
right?
exactly.
So like instead of, trusting a bank with your money,
Yeah.
you're trusting this complex mathematical system, this blockchain, to to do it for you.
We call these like trustless systems.
Right.
But the question is, can you really replace that human element of trust
Right.
with algorithms?
Like that's the big question. Like, algorithms are great at, crunching numbers,
Right.
following rules.
Right.
But can they really understand like intuition, ethics?
It's human error.
Yeah.
All those
yeah.
messy human things.
All those messy human things. And those are pretty important factors when we talk about trust, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a big one. And I think speaking of trust and ethics, like we can't forget about the code itself, right?
Right.
Like who wrote that code?
Yeah.
What were their intentions?
Exactly.
Were they thinking about fairness, equality, potential biases?
Right, because code, just like, laws, it can reflect the biases of its creators.
Right.
I'm reminded of Lawrence Lessig, this legal scholar.
Yeah.
He famously said code is law.
Right.
But just like laws, code can be used to reinforce certain power structures.
Yeah.
And to disadvantage certain groups of people.
Right.
So even in this decentralized world, we're still dealing with human values,
Yeah.
power dynamics, just in a new digital form.
It's almost like we're trading one set of gatekeepers for another.
Right?
Instead
Exactly.
of, banks and
Yeah.
governments,
And
it's
the
coders
yeah.
and algorithms calling the shots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does blockchain really change the game, or are we just playing the same game on a different field, you
It's
know?
a tough one. It's a tough one.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one of the things that blockchain offers is this amazing potential for transparency,
Okay.
right? Where every transaction is recorded on a public ledger for everyone to see.
Uh-huh.
But that transparency comes with a cost,
Okay.
which is privacy.
Right.
We're basically entering this digital panopticon where all of our actions are visible.
A digital panopticon. That sounds a little
A little ominous, yeah.
yeah, can you explain that a little bit more for our
Sure,
listeners
yeah.
who maybe aren't familiar with that term?
So imagine a prison
Okay.
where the guard tower's in the center
Yeah.
and the cells are all arranged in a circle around it,
Okay.
and the guards can see into every cell.
Right.
But the prisoners can't see the guards.
Right. I see.
And so this constant possibility of being watched
Yeah.
encourages self-regulation.
Okay.
The prisoners are always on their best behavior.
Right. Right.
So now replace the prison with the digital world,
Okay.
and the guards with anyone who can access the blockchain ledger,
Uh-huh.
right? That's the concept of a digital panopticon.
So even though blockchain is decentralized,
Right.
we could still potentially be under surveillance.
Yeah, it's a paradox.
Yeah.
Right. On the one hand, blockchain can empower us
Right.
by creating these open and accountable systems.
Right.
But on the other hand, it raises these serious questions about privacy and control.
Yeah.
I think somebody like Hannah Arendt,
Okay.
who wrote a lot about the importance of privacy for human dignity.
Right.
She would certainly have some strong opinions about this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she would too.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's like it's this trade-off, right?
Right.
We gain transparency,
Right.
potentially lose privacy.
Yeah.
And that brings up a whole host of ethical questions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to unpack.
It is a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
So
We've only just begun. It really does. And it doesn't stop there, right? I mean, like, take the environmental impact of blockchain, for example.
Oh yeah.
Some blockchains, like Bitcoin, they use just a massive amount of energy just to run their algorithms.
Right. And that's been a big concern,
Yeah.
for a lot of people. Like, is it
Yeah.
worth it?
Is it sustainable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
Do the benefits outweigh like the environmental cost?
right. Think about it this way. Like every transaction on a blockchain, it requires, a ton of computational power.
Yeah.
And that power has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it's coming from, fossil fuels,
Yeah.
which of course contribute to climate change.
Right.
So, even though blockchain is decentralized,
Mm.
it's still deeply connected to our physical world
Right.
and its limitations.
It's like this hidden cost of
Yeah,
course that we don't always think about.
Right, exactly.
It's like we're focused on the tech,
Yeah.
but it's the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, the whole picture.
Yeah, the whole system that supports it, right? Like the energy consumption.
The infrastructure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes me think of Aldo Leopold,
Okay.
this ecologist and philosopher.
Uh-huh.
He argued that we need to develop what he called a land ethic.
Okay.
This sense of responsibility for the natural world.
Yeah.
And so the question is, how does that ethic apply to the digital realm?
Right.
Like, what are our responsibilities?
Yeah, are we just shifting the problem,
Yeah.
from one place to another?
Right. Are we just creating new problems
Yeah.
in the process of solving old ones?
Right, exactly. Exactly. And then there's the whole question of governance. Like,
Yeah.
if there's no central authority, who's in charge?
Who's calling the shots?
Yeah.
Who makes the rules?
Yeah, who resolves disputes? Who makes sure like things are running smoothly?
Exactly, because we've traditionally relied on, institutions like governments
Right.
and courts to provide, order, yeah,
Yeah.
and to enforce rules.
Right, and to hold people accountable.
Right.
Yeah.
But in a decentralized system,
Yeah.
like blockchain, those traditional structures are absent.
Like the Wild West out there, you know?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. It's potentially liberating, but also,
A little
a
scary.
little bit scary. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's uncharted territory.
And we've seen, what can happen
Yeah,
when things go wrong, right?
yeah. I mean, remember the 2016 DAO hack?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that was a major wake-up call
Right.
for the whole blockchain community.
Yeah, that really exposed some of the risks and
The vulnerabilities
yeah,
of
yeah.
these decentralized systems.
Like operating without a safety net, basically.
Right, exactly. And it really highlighted the need for new forms of governance
Yeah.
and dispute resolution in this new landscape.
Right.
I mean, think about it in terms of Thomas Hobbes's idea of
Oh,
the
yeah.
state of nature.
Yeah.
Hobbes argued that without a strong sovereign, life would be nasty, brutish, and short.
Right.
Um, so is a decentralized world, is it destined for chaos
Yeah.
without some form of centralized authority?
It's a question that I think a lot of people are still wrestling with.
Yeah, it's a live debate,
Yeah.
in the blockchain community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people believe that we can create self-governing systems
Right.
that are fair and effective,
Yeah.
and others are more skeptical.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so it's a fascinating experiment that's unfolding in real time.
Yeah.
We're witnessing the birth of new forms of governance, new
Yeah.
ways of organizing ourselves, new
Ah.
ways of interacting with each other.
So it's not all like doom and gloom.
No, not at all.
There's
There's a
a
lot of potential.
Yeah, potential for good.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, blockchain has the power to revolutionize so many aspects of our lives.
Okay.
From finance to voting
Yeah.
to supply chain management.
Right. It's not just about Bitcoin anymore.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's branching out.
Yeah, and it's being used to do things like track the origins of products.
Yeah.
Ensure the integrity of elections.
Right.
Even protect our personal data.
Exactly. So, it's like we're just scratching the surface
Yeah.
of what blockchain can do.
Right.
It's a technology with immense potential,
Right.
but it's important to approach it with both enthusiasm
Okay.
and caution.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
You know.
Okay. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about like
Okay.
the future of society with blockchain. Like, what are some of the big picture implications here?
Yeah.
What kind of world are we creating with this technology?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are both utopian and dystopian visions of blockchain's impact
Okay.
on society. Some people envision a world where blockchain brings about greater fairness,
Yeah.
transparency,
Mm-hmm.
individual empowerment.
Okay.
Others fear a world where blockchain actually exacerbates
Right.
existing inequalities
Yeah.
and creates new forms of control and surveillance.
It's like we're standing at a fork in the road and blockchain is the map.
Right.
But like, which path will we choose?
Which path will we choose?
Yeah.
And I think the path we choose is going to depend on the values
Right.
that we prioritize
Mm-hmm.
and the choices that we make.
Yeah.
Will we use blockchain to build a more just
Yeah.
and equitable world,
Yeah.
or will we simply replicate
Right.
the same old patterns of power and exploitation in a new digital form?
It's like it's a reminder that technology is a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool.
It can be used for good or for ill.
Yeah.
It depends on who's wielding it.
Right, exactly, and how they're using it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's up to us
Yeah.
to decide
Yeah.
how we wield this power.
Yeah.
Blockchain isn't inherently good or bad.
Okay.
It's a reflection of ourselves,
Right.
our values,
Yeah.
our aspirations. The future of blockchain and perhaps even the future of society itself. It's being written right now.
Yeah.
And we all have a role to play
Yeah.
in shaping that future.
It's kind of like we're having one of those, late night philosophical debates
Whole
with a tech twist, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing about blockchain. It really does push us to think about these big questions in
Yeah.
a whole new way.
Yeah, it really does. So So okay, let's try to like zoom in a little bit
Yeah.
on some of these key dilemmas that we've been wrestling with here.
Okay.
So first up, trust.
Right.
But what does that even mean in a world where like algorithms are making more and more decisions, you know?
Right. I mean, can an algorithm really understand
Yeah.
what it means to trust someone
Yeah.
or to be trustworthy?
Right.
Like we humans, we build relationships,
Right.
we weigh intentions,
Yeah.
we consider past experiences, all these things.
Right.
Algorithms just crunch data,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So can those two worlds really ever truly meet
Yeah.
when it comes to trust?
And even if they could, like, is that something that we even want?
Yeah, right. Do we want to hand over that much power
Yeah.
to algorithms?
Yeah, are we ready to like trust lines of code
Yeah.
with our finances, our identities, like our futures?
Right.
It's a lot to think about.
It's a huge question.
Yeah, and it brings us to this tension that we were talking about before, right?
Right.
Between individual empowerment and collective responsibility.
Exactly.
Blockchain, it seems to offer this like ultimate freedom, right?
Right.
Control over your own data,
Yeah.
your own assets, your own
Your own
choices.
destiny.
Yeah, but what happens to like the common good
Right.
in that kind of world?
Yeah, if everyone's just off doing their own thing,
Yes.
who's looking out for the big picture?
Right. Right. Do we end up with a society where like the strong thrive
Yeah.
and the vulnerable are just like left behind?
Right. And blockchain's this powerful tool,
Right.
but it doesn't come with like an instruction manual
Right.
for how to build a just society.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And then there's this whole question of transparency versus privacy, right?
Right, yeah, because blockchain just like lays everything bare,
Yeah.
you know. But doesn't that go against our basic human need
Yeah.
to have some things be private?
Right. It's like, sure, transparency can be good.
Right.
Like, it can help fight corruption.
Yeah,
Hold people accountable.
absolutely.
But, like, does that mean that every single action that we take
Yeah.
needs to be, like, on display for the whole world to see?
Right, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, where's the line?
Yeah,
Yeah. So tough questions.
tough questions.
And like you said before, no easy answers.
No easy answers. Yeah. But that's why I think, having these conversations
Yeah.
is so important. Like we can't just blindly adopt new technology
Right.
without thinking about the consequences,
Yeah.
the trade-offs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blockchain is really pushing us toward a crossroads, I think.
Yeah.
And the path that we choose, it's going to shape the future.
It's exciting and kind of daunting at the same time, right?
Totally.
So I guess to wrap things up here,
Yeah.
what's like the one thing that you hope our listeners walk away pondering,
I'd say it's this. Blockchain isn't just about technology,
Okay.
right? It's really a mirror
Okay.
that's reflecting our values back at us.
Okay, I like that.
Like what do we really value?
Yeah.
Do we value individual freedom above all else?
Right.
Or are we okay with algorithms making life-altering decisions?
Right.
How much are we willing to sacrifice privacy for the sake of, security?
Yeah.
Like blockchain is forcing us to confront these questions head on.
Yeah. Powerful stuff. And I think as we navigate this new landscape, I'm reminded of a quote
Okay?
by Bruno Latour, who said, "Technology is society made durable."
That's perfect. That's perfect. I mean, because blockchain it's literally making our choices about society,
Right.
about trust, about power
Yeah.
into something permanent,
Yeah.
into something lasting.
Right.
So we better choose wisely.
We better choose wisely. Yeah. Well, hey.
Yep.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It's been quite a journey, this exploration of the philosophy behind blockchain.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
It really is, and we hope it's given you plenty to think about.
Yeah, keep those wheels turning.
Yeah, keep those wheels turning, and remember the future isn't set in stone.
Right.
It's being created right now.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Line by line of code.
Yeah.
Decision by decision.
So let's make it a future
Yeah.
worth building.